Hi, I'm Jennifer, and welcome to the Haunted Hour. Easter night. A time of peace, family, and quiet celebration. But sometimes when the sun goes down, something dark wakes up. Tonight, I'll share terrifying stories of Easter nights that ended in fear, not joy. Flickering lights, vanishing footsteps, and visitors no one invited. Because even on the holiest nights, evil doesn't rest. Let's begin, but keep your eyes open. Something might still be watching. It started like any other Easter night. Quiet, peaceful, and forgettable. I was house-sitting for my aunt in the countryside, a little two-story farmhouse just on the edge of a dense pine forest. She left for a church retreat 3 towns over and asked me to watch her cat, Mr. Whiskers. I agreed, mostly because I needed a break from city life and my spiraling routine. The house was creaky and old, but charming in a rustic kind of way. The Easter decorations were still up, plastic eggs hanging from the porch railing, a chipped ceramic bunny on the mantel, and a basket filled with pastel candies on the kitchen table. I thought nothing of it. Just another harmless holiday. Around 9 p.m., as the sun dipped low and cast that eerie golden hue over the trees, I heard something strange. A knock. Not at the door, but at the back window. The farmhouse was surrounded by open land on 3 sides and forest on the 4th. The back window faced the woods. I approached slowly, expecting maybe a tree branch had hit the glass. But no, I saw it. A large, pale hand slowly retreating into the darkness. I froze, heart slamming in my chest. I waited, barely breathing. Then came the knock again. This time at the side window. It was moving. Whatever it was circling the house. I locked every door and window in a panic. I turned off the lights and crawled into the pantry with Mr. Whiskers clutched to my chest, phone in hand. I wanted to call someone, but what would I say? A big hand knocked on the window? It sounded ridiculous. But then came the laughter. It started low, childlike, but quickly grew distorted. It echoed around the house, as if coming from all sides. I cover my ears. Mr. Whiskers hissed and tried to leap out of my arms, scratching me as he escaped. I heard a loud thump upstairs, then the sound of something heavy being dragged. I gathered the courage to leave the pantry and creep upstairs with a kitchen knife. The hallway lights flickered as I stepped onto the landing. There on the floor outside my aunt's room was a trail of chocolate eggs, but they were melted, misshapen, almost pulsing. At the end of the trail was the ceramic Easter bunny from the mantel, except now it had no eyes, just 2 hollow sockets oozing black liquid. I turned to run, and the bedroom door slammed shut behind me. Locked. I was trapped. My phone buzzed. A new notification. A picture of me standing in that very hallway. I spun around. No one, but I could feel someone there, breathing, watching. The laughter returned, louder, more twisted. It was inside the walls. I kicked the door open and ran downstairs, but everything had changed. The house was wrong, longer, the ceilings taller. The photos on the wall were no longer of my family, but of strangers, all with scratched-out faces. In the kitchen, the candy basket was gone. In its place, a rotten rabbit head. Its ears twitched. I backed away, tears in my eyes, knife trembling in my hand. Then the power went out. The only light came from the fireplace, where something now burned. Not wood, but Easter grass and wax dolls. One of them looked like me. That's when I saw it. The figure standing in the corner, 8 feet tall. cloaked in what looked like stitched-together pastel fabric. Its head was a porcelain mask, like a doll's, but with cracks running through it. No mouth, just black, endless eyes. It moved slowly, not walking, but gliding. It raised its hand long, spindly fingers like candy canes warped in heat, and pointed at me. "Observer," it croaked. "The feast begins anew." I ran outside barefoot, cutting my feet on the gravel, gasping for breath. The forest pulsed with a sickly pink light. The trees were decorated no longer with leaves, but with hanging baskets, each holding a small doll. One dropped in front of me. It had my aunt's face. Her eyes blinked. I screamed and ran, branches whipping against my skin, the sound of jingling bells following close behind. Something was chasing me. I never turned to see what. I just kept running until I reached the edge of the woods, and the field ended. There was no road, no farmhouse, just endless fields of eggs. Thousands, maybe millions, stretching beyond what the eye could see. And they were hatching, one by one, tiny, grotesque creatures clawing their way out. Some had human features, fingers, teeth, eyes that blinked sideways. They squealed and laughed and cried in unison. I dropped to my knees. My mind couldn't process what I was seeing. A deep voice echoed through the sky. Easter never ends for the marked. I woke up in bed. My city apartment. Everything normal. Clean. Bright. Birds chirping outside. Had I dreamed it? I checked my phone. No photos. No texts. But under my pillow was a single pastel egg, cracked open. Inside it, a photo of me, kneeling in that field, surrounded by the creatures. I checked my feet. The cuts were still there. Bloody. Real. I tried calling my aunt. Number disconnected. I checked her town online. No records. As if she never existed. But every year on Easter night, I hear the bells. And I see the lights in the woods from my window. People say Easter is a time of rebirth. I think they're right. But not in the way we think. Something else is born. Something waiting to be fed. And once you've seen it, once it marks you, you're never truly out. You're just in between visits. I don't go to church anymore. I don't decorate. I don't buy candy. But every Easter, the pastel egg returns. Always in a new hiding spot. Always cracked. Always filled with something alive. Something whispering. Part 2 begins when you open me. Part 2. The days that followed Easter night bled into each other like watercolors on soaked paper. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that thing. The cracked porcelain mask, the hollow rabbit eyes, the dragging steps across the floor. My apartment no longer felt like my own. It was colder now, no matter how high I cranked the heat. The lights flickered in rhythm, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. Every shadow in the corner of my vision looked like ears twitching. Something had crossed over that night, and I felt its presence like a weight on my chest. I tried to act normal. I went to work. I talked to my friends, but I was distant, like I was seeing the world through a foggy window. I started noticing strange things, missing time. Items moved around the apartment, that horrible humming returning in the quiet. Then, a familiar white feather showed up on my pillow one night, just like the ones from the bunny suit. I hadn't told anyone about it. No one could have planted it. And worse, it was damp, like it had been buried in the ground. Desperate for answers, I drove 3 hours to visit my grandmother. She was deeply religious and had spoken of old, Easter tales from her village in Romania. When I told her everything, her face turned pale. She called it Iepuresul Joel, the hollow hair, an old spirit from pre-Christian folklore that masqueraded as a symbol of spring, but was actually a harbinger of decay and rebirth through death. It visited the weak-minded and those who had wandered too close to forgotten places. Her last words to me before I left were, "It doesn't want to hurt you. It wants to wear you." That night, I returned home and found muddy paw prints in the hallway. Not like a pet's. Larger, misshapen, almost human. They led from the front door to my closet. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing nothing inside but darkness and an overwhelming stench of earth. That's when I realized the scent was coming from beneath the floorboards. I pried them up with a screwdriver, and there it was, a small burlap sack. Inside were photos of me sleeping, strands of my hair tied in knots, broken eggshells filled with blood, and a single crumpled note. "He sees you when you wake. He feels you when you dream." The humming returned that night, louder than ever, but it was coming from my phone. A video was playing, a live stream from inside my own apartment. In the video, I was asleep, but something else was there, crawling slowly across the floor, circling my bed. It wasn't in the room when I looked. It was only in the video. But when I paused the video and replayed it, the thing stopped and turned and looked directly into the camera, into me. Panic gripped me like claws. I booked a hotel for the night. The front desk girl looked at me funny when I checked in. I must have looked deranged, but for once I felt relief. That is, until I turned on the hotel room light. On the bed was a chocolate bunny, identical to the one I got on Easter night. I hadn't told anyone about that. I smashed it against the wall, and inside, just like before, was something buried in the chocolate. This time it was a tooth. Human. I didn't sleep. I sat in the bathtub, clutching a Bible I hadn't opened in years. I recited prayers I barely remembered. The walls seemed to breathe. Every sound outside the door felt like footsteps dragging closer. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the lights in the bathroom flickered once, then died. The mirror cracked from top to bottom without a sound. In the spider web of the broken glass, I saw something standing behind me, but when I turned, nothing was there. I went back to the apartment the next morning, only to find it vandalized. Every wall covered in those same childish rabbit drawings. Red crayon spirals. Some spelled my name. One had the words, "You're almost ready." I called the police. They came, they looked, but they didn't believe me. They said it looked like a prank. Maybe I had a stalker. I tried to move out. When I went to sign the papers, the leasing agent told me something strange. According to their files, I had already moved out 3 days ago. Someone with my ID. I had never left. But someone had taken my name, my lease, my life. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. When I picked up, all I heard was chewing. Wet. Smacking. Like someone gnawing through flesh. Then a whisper. "Only 2 nights left, and you'll hatch just right." Now, I sit here writing this, hoping someone will find this if I disappear. There's something scratching under the floorboards again. Something whispering in a voice that sounds almost like mine. I've seen flashes of it in the window reflections. The hollow rabbit face. It mimics. It feeds. And it's growing stronger. Easter was just the beginning. The true day of rebirth is coming. And whatever hatches next won't be human. Part 3. The days that followed were thick, with an unnatural silence, as if even the birds had grown afraid to sing. I barely slept. My ears were always tuned to the smallest creak, my eyes constantly checking dark corners where the light refused to reach. Something had been opened on Easter night, a door, a curse, a cycle, and I could feel it uncoiling. My reflection no longer matched my movements. Sometimes it lingered just a second longer, blinking when I didn't. I covered every mirror in the house with bedsheets, but I still felt watched, not by someone, but by something old and buried deep beneath this town, under roots and bone. Then, on the 7th night, I found the teeth. They were blooming like flowers in the front yard, pearly white and sharp, growing out of the soil like daffodils. Dozens of them. I dug them up with a gloved hand, horrified to find more and more underneath. Rows of molars and canines stretching in every direction, roots tangled like veins. I screamed until my throat tore raw, but no one came. When I turned back toward the house, I saw them. Wet footprints leading from the back door all the way to the base of the stairs. Bare feet, muddy, human but not quite. Each toe too long, each heel sunken deep, like the bones were soft. I locked every door and window, barricaded myself in my bedroom. That night, I heard footsteps above me in the attic. I live alone. I held my breath. They didn't pace. They shuffled, dragged, like something not used to walking. I turned on my phone's flashlight and quietly stepped into the hallway. The attic hatch was open. A rope ladder dangled down like an invitation. On the floor beneath, it was a single object. One of the bunny masks from Easter. But it was soaked in what looked like old black blood. It pulsed. I swear it pulsed. The air around it was thick, humming, like a swarm of bees just under my skin. My body moved against my will. I climbed the ladder. The attic was pitch black. My flashlight flickered the moment I reached the top. Something was breathing in the corner. It sounded backward, like lungs exhaling and inhaling in reverse. I scanned the attic and saw a mound of fur, a costume. No, a person in a costume? Maybe, but it twitched like muscle, and the smell was death. Then it stood, 7 feet tall, stitched together with matted hair and pieces of rotting Easter attire. Instead of a face, it had a porcelain rabbit mask melted into its skin. And behind that mask, I swear I saw teeth blooming out of its eye sockets. It moved toward me without a sound. I backed away and nearly fell through the attic hatch, but it didn't chase. It pointed toward a corner. I turned my flashlight. There, nailed to the beam, were photographs of me. Some old, some recent, some from inside my bedroom. Behind the photos, carved into the wood, was a phrase. The hollow wants your body. The blooming wants your mind. My phone buzzed violently. A text. Just one word. Choose. That night, I had the dream again. The field of inverted crosses. The children with no faces. The soft chewing sounds coming from underneath the earth. Only this time I wasn't watching. I was among them, chewing, smiling, covered in soil and blood. When I woke up, I had dirt under my fingernails and one of the blooming teeth on my pillow. I ran to the mirror. My eyes were bleeding. Not tears, just blood. I packed my things. I fled the town. I drove through the night until I reached an old gas station miles away. I told the clerk I needed a place to stay. He looked at me strangely and said, "You've got the bloom, don't you? I can smell the hollow on you." He pointed to a small chapel in the woods behind the station, said it used to be a church before they sealed it. said if I wanted answers or any hope of escaping the blooming, I'd have to go there. I didn't want to, but part of me already knew I would. I found the chapel by moonlight. Cracked stone, overgrown vines, a stained glass window depicting a rabbit-headed angel with its wings torn off. The door creaked open by itself. The air inside was freezing, colder than winter. I stepped inside and instantly felt heavier, like gravity had doubled. The floor was covered in salt circles and animal bones. At the altar, a single candle burned, and behind it, a figure sat in silence, cloaked, unmoving. Then it spoke in a voice like broken glass. You open the bloom. Now it grows. The roots are in your blood. You cannot unsee. You cannot unchoose. But you may bury it, or let it feast. The figure reached into its robes and pulled out 2 items. A small, writhing bag. Something alive inside. And a key made of bone. One locks the bloom inside you, it said. The other opens it for good. I asked which was which. The figure only whispered, choose. And that's where I am now, sitting outside the chapel, bag in one hand, key in the other. My skin itches with movement. My mind is not my own. If this is the last entry I ever write, just remember, if you see teeth in the garden, if you hear chewing in your dreams, if you get a text that just says choose, never pick the bag. Never. Because something is growing inside me, and I don't think I can stop it for much longer.